What is the greatest single movie scene ever filmed? We all have that one movie or a scene that is close to the heart. It might be something that inspired you, or which you can relate with. Or it might be your favorite purely for its cinematographic brilliance. Let's look at a thread where Redditors have joined together to celebrate some of the best movie instances that they think are masterpieces. When the T-Rex showed up in Jurassic Park, another Redditor replies explaining why that scene is so brilliant. I never noticed until recently, but there is no music whatsoever during that scene. 99.9% of films would force in a score to up the tension, or pop in a few stingers to make sure that the audience is perked up. Nope, not the J.P. Paddock scene. The rain served as the score, and the scene was 1,000 times better without background music. It's when Dorothy steps out of the house into Technicolor and into a new world. It changed film. The emotional aspect is unreal. That scene is forever engraved. The next share from Forrest Gump is for sure an emotional gem. We can all agree. For me, it's the scene where Forrest Gump meets his son. I love that movie. I was a 90s kid, and for some reason, Gump taught me a lot about the world I didn't understand. He was like this slow-witted observer of all the biggest events that changed American history, from the 50s through the 80s. All the time we see him as stumbling through life, getting constantly lucky, but always driven by his love of friends and family, and Jenny. It never even occurred that he might be self-aware. Then in the final act, he finds Jenny in her apartment and she tells him that they have a son together. Is he like me? The realization that he understood his place in the world the entire time and still managed to be the person he is, it wrecked me. That film is deeply sentimental for me for other reasons, but when I think about the first time I saw that scene and how deeply it affected me, I haven't had such an emotional experience from many other scenes. It won Best Picture that year for a reason. It really is a fantastic bit of storytelling. The baptism scene in The Godfather. Michael not only renounced Satan, but he also settled all the family business that day. The USS Indianapolis monologue from Jaws. Robert Shaw's delivery is just chilling. Redditor, the great JCG, replied explaining the scene, and it sure is interesting. I would die on the hill that the ending to Jaws is an example of the perfect climax. Quint is dead, Hooper is indisposed, the orca is sinking rapidly, and Brody is trapped in the cabin. The combination of hope, despair, thrill, and terror, all wound together by brilliant cinematography, and John Williams' famous soundtrack led to the ultimate duel of man versus beast. Brody is on the parapet, rifle in his hands, watching the shark circle closer with the oxygen tank jammed in its teeth. Brody goads the shark into attacking. "Come on, show me the tank," he growls. "Blow up." The shark begins its final approach. Brody fires the first shot. It misses wide right. Whizzing through the water is a trail of bubbles. He fires again, missing the tank. Williams' score escalates, becoming louder than even the bang of Brody's rifle. He squints down the sights harder. "Blow up." He fires again, missing, down to the last bullet. The shark's snout breaches the water. Its eyes lock onto Brody's. "Smile, you son of a..." Bang! Boom! An eruption of seawater, blood, and shark matter. Hunks of flesh rain down. Brody opens his eyes. His expression lights up with triumph. He then cheers. A release of all his stress, terror, and grief. Now a glowing victory. The shark's corpse falls to the ocean floor, to the medley of a piano. Hooper resurfaces to reveal he's alive. The two men laugh, mourn the loss of Quint, then paddle home on a makeshift raft. "I used to hate the water," Brody muses. Hooper chuckles. I can't imagine why. The opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark set the bar awfully high. The lobby shootout in The Matrix. It's so well edited and the visual effects are amazing. The night vision sequence in Silence of the Lambs is great suspense. No matter how insufferable I find Tom Cruise, watching him question Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men is mesmerizing every time I watch it. Truman finally realizing his reality and trying to escape it. One user replied, "Yet another scene from the same movie that's gut-wrenching." The scene that always hit me the hardest was when he meets his dad again for the first time. After everything that happened, his mental breakdown, his wife leaving, the unfathomable stress and horror of the slow realization something really bad is going on, he turned to the one person he thought he could trust, who is, literally, being told exactly what to say through an earpiece while claiming, "I would never lie to you." All that is pretty bad, but when it cuts to the crew all celebrating the frankly terrible thing they've done, it's like a punch to the gut every time. The scene in Schindler's List when the Nazis are rounding up Jews in the multi-story building to a frenetic piano soundtrack, and then it shows Nazis playing the same piano in one of the rooms, laughing and dancing. The joy and the fun the Nazis are having compared to the panic of the innocents. Spielberg is a master. The charge of the Rohirrim still gives me chills. The scene in Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey, where the ancient hominid picked up the bone and used it as a weapon, from memory, then threw it spinning into the air. The shot follows it up as it slowly changes into a space station, and we've bought into the future. In that single sequence, we're taken from the moment of the very first use of a tool to its ultimate conclusion millennia later. It tells the story of our technological evolution in a few frames. It implies the subsequent technological advancement of humanity through history. Breathtaking. Genius. Flawless. Apocalypse Now. Ride of the Valkyries. Helicopter assault on the beach. Parting and crossing the Red Sea from Prince of Egypt. Most beautiful bit of animation I've ever seen. Parting and crossing the Red Sea from Prince of Egypt. Most beautiful bit of animation I've ever seen. Another Redditor agrees. The whale silhouette just blows me away every time. I'm not a religious person in general, but I love Prince of Egypt. One of the greatest animated films ever, and some of the best music too. The beginning of There Will Be Blood is up there. No dialogue, but you're able to find out so much about the main character. You know Daniel before the story even begins. The music is great too. Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead did the soundtrack. Highly underrated, but the desk scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Not only does it convey a character's entire backstory through imagery, but think about the level of cinematography that went into the scene. Not a single shadow was cast from studio equipment through a single take shot. Brilliant. The hanging scene in Jojo Rabbit. The build-up and timing is perfect. The way the movie makes you sad, then it makes you nervous, then it makes you laugh, then it kind of floats along for a couple of minutes before it kicks you in the guts. It's brilliant. I'll go with the scene that never gets mentioned on these kinds of threads, but it was the most impressive scene I ever saw on the big screen. It's the scene in Lawrence of Arabia, when the Arab army raids the Turkish stronghold at Aqaba, especially the final continuous shot from the hill, where the camera moves with the waves of Arabs as they overwhelm the city. The shot ends as one of the giant guns facing the sea, and incapable of being turned around, as Lawrence said they would be because no one thought Aqaba could be attacked from the land side. Whoever hasn't cried to the next scene definitely has a heart of stone. The opening scene of Up, the montage of life together, was pure poetry. This Reddit just reminded us to rewatch all the forgotten gems, right? Which among these do you agree is the greatest single movie scene ever? Do you have any other personal favorites? Comment and let us know. Also, subscribe to the channel so you keep watching more such interesting videos.